thanks very much to the Bridge for the invitation. I'm going to talk a little bit about the challenges we're facing in construction as employers, particularly around the retrofit agenda. Alongside the challenges, I'll talk about the opportunities that we see that are available for people to get into work, for us to actually deliver net zero as we progress, and how we've been working with Bridge partners so far to achieve some of these goals and how we're going to do it in the future. So to start off with the challenges, I think we're all aware probably that anyone who's got any idea about the construction industry, we've got massive skills gaps. It isn't just in retrofit, it's across the board. So in terms of challenges, look at that. Retrofit in 29 million homes will require a workforce of 250,000 to 500,000 by tomorrow, basically. So we've got competition for talent from other sectors. We're going to have someone obviously talking about the digital sector after me. That's a great one for nicking the kids. And we've also got competition from within other sectors of the construction industry. So obviously there we've got the UK doesn't have enough builders for Labour's 1.5 million homes. Sorry to moan about that, but yeah, that's something we're all pretty much aware of. We're also we're dealing with a fragmented industry structure. So I think Suna was just mentioning about, engaging with larger employers and smaller employers. The construction industry basically is organised as organisations or companies like myself, larger construction companies. We're managing contractors at the end of the day, and we work with a very wide supply chain of subcontractors. And at the end of the day, they're generally the ones with the jobs. We'll do our bit, but particularly when you're talking about the huge numbers of new entrants we need into the industry to deliver retrofit, you're talking about our supply chain. So I think there's a role basically for the Bridge. Perhaps we can help strategically, but you're going to need us to get our supply chain on board. And we're doing that in some places already, and it's working. It's a challenge, but we're doing it. We're also dealing with, I hope you don't mind me saying, but a struggling FE sector to a certain extent. I've been kind of doing this role just over 10 years, around the time, I can't remember the name of the actual, what it was called, but when all the FE colleges were being kind of forced into marriages sometimes with other colleges, and some of that was uncomfortable, and sometimes it ends in divorce, I'm aware. But in terms of stability, it's been difficult, particularly in construction, because we do actually pay good money in our game. It's quite often the case that very good individuals you'll work with in FE colleges go back on the tools. And so keeping that sort of continuity going, quality of engagement is quite difficult, but we're willing to do it, and obviously the Bridges as well, and I'm sure we can do our best and overcome a lot of that. I think finally, there's no clients in the room as far as I'm aware, but the real big problem as well is motivating industry, and that includes Durkan and all of our peers, is motivating industry to invest properly in driving the retrofit skills pipeline. What I mean by that is there's so much talk about the pipeline. There's an expectation that we're going to retrofit so many hundreds of thousands, millions of homes by a certain date, but we're not always seeing the money on the table. And I hate to say it, but construction won't respond unless it knows that work pipeline's there. It's too risky. It's too risky. We're already experiencing that in other sectors. So that's the challenges. Hope I haven't depressed you all to death. And so how are we working to address the challenge? You'll see there the L&Q Durkan logo. So L&Q are a large housing association I'm sure you're all aware of. We're on a 15-year, basically a retrofit framework, internal and external works with L&Q. We're not the only company, there's about 12, 15 contractors. And we're trying to look at the challenge differently. We do see a massive opportunity if the workflows emerge for us, for new entrants into the industry, for residents that are going to benefit from retrofit, and from society as a whole, really. What we're trying to do is build a quality, repeatable retrofit training model that works. So not another hopeful monster that comes up and some people get some certificates and there's some nice pictures and then it just all fades away to nothing and no one remembers it. We're trying to build a model that gets people into work. So we're focusing on developing pathways that attract entry-level talent Okay, if there's a lot of emphasis on, not everyone's going to be a retrofit coordinator, not everyone's going to be, on that side of the fence, as it were. That's great, there's loads of opportunities for those, but we need the installers, big time, okay? And they're out there. And this isn't minimum wage work. This is a lifelong career if you get into it, with plenty of scope for progression and movement across, okay? Construction's really good like that if you actually get into it. So that's what we're trying to do, and we're trying to get the model right, because the idea is if you get the model right, then you can train and recruit at volume, rather than a case study's worth. Okay, and I've done it, so I'm as bad as everyone. We've had some good outcomes, but they didn't go anywhere. We're really trying to push this as a volume model. We're trying to build momentum, and L&Q, that's probably one of the reasons I name check then, is they're really trying to push cross-contractor partnership. I'll say a little bit about this in a second. It's difficult. We still see each other as competitors, but if we work together, the range and the scale of opportunities that become available increases by orders of magnitude, and I think that's something we've got to get over. And I think, to be honest, I think in construction companies that needs to be addressed up the chain at boardroom level. They're pushing a lot of lower level staff into some of these initiatives, and it's not really got the backing it needs to become a genuine positive outcome. But our key goal, and I'll keep saying this, our key goal is to move towards guaranteed job opportunities. Whatever we're doing within the Bridge partnership, with other training providers and other organisations, we're trying to move towards the point where whoever goes through a programme successfully and completes a successful work placement, they get a job, not a certificate and a picture, they get a job, okay? Easier said than done, but that's what we're trying to do. And again, if we're going to address that numbers challenge, we're going to have to do it. So who are we working with? We're working with New City College. We've got a brilliant relationship with New City College. It's really refreshing, actually, the quality of interaction we're having with the New City College. We're running work experience programs with them at trades level. They've got cohorts of BTEC level 3 students that we're getting involved, and we've just started with T-learners as well. We're specifically getting them on fabric first retrofit projects. So it's not just random building projects, it's all retrofit. Internal wall installation, external wall installation, for those of you who haven't come across that, recladding projects, windows and door installation, passive fire protection. All trades are crying out for skills and specific skills, and we're trying to funnel the learners at New City College specifically into those kind of experiences. We've got a 15-year framework with L&Q, so what we're hoping is that's got the longevity to keep evolving this model, perfecting it, and I'm convinced from the successes in the past, they sell themselves. Once people know it is jobs and it's not some private training company's funding that they're helping, they actually come to you rather than you having to chase them. We're also working with South Thames. That's a bit new, a bit more of a recent development. In fact, this morning we finalised our first work experience programme with them at the Alton Estate in Wandsworth. We've got Matt Walker over there, really keen to work with him. Kind of reinvented what they call the multi-trades qualification. Traditionally that used to be our AN other. They're not good enough to be a plumber, they're not good enough to be a sparks, whack them on the multi-trades, right? Didn't get them anywhere, okay? Ironically, multi-trades really lends itself to retrofit, because again, when you're talking sometimes to people who should know better, and you say, well, what do you mean by retrofit skills, or what do you mean by green jobs in construction? Because really, so much of this is existing jobs, upskilling, and with added elements to it. But if you can get the new entrants in on a multi-trades basis, and you're telling them about PAS 2035 from day one, you're telling them about the requirements for quality installation and compliance, they're just getting that idea from day one, then you've got a mouldable cohort of new entrants that can fill so many of these roles. Okay, so that's what we're trying to do with South Thames, and we're looking forward to that. We've been working with the Skills Centre across London probably for about a year and a half. We first started working with them because they deliver a cladding boot camp, try and get cladding companies to take on people. Oh no, it's specialists. Oh no, we're from up north. All right, so we had enough of that. Said no, we can get you, the skills you need. So jumping on to the cladding boot camps that they were delivering, 5-week programme, 3 weeks in-house, 2-week work placement with it, and then after that, jobs, okay? We've had 6 jobs with one cladding company since we've been working with the skills centre over 2 boot camps. That may not sound like a lot, but anyone who's been in this game realises 6 job outcomes is pretty good going, and it's a real firm foundation to build on. Okay, but what we're also doing, we've expanded those boot camps. We've brought our supply chain in. All right, that's really important. We're working with the skills camp. We're expanding the boot camps to take in window and door installation, roofing, fire protection, internal, external insulation routes. And again, you might think, well, what's roofing or what's door installation got to do with retrofit? This is the thing, so much of it is existing trades that need additional skills. They need to understand why they're doing it, why we're trying to do a fabric-first approach for all our buildings, okay? So that's been going really well. We've got great plans to take that forward in 2025. And we have had a great support from our supply chain partners. Got a name check them, so we've got Bowder Roofing, Intex Facades, London Felt Roofing, Penn Installations and the Total Protection Group. Really put themselves out to get on board with it, and they're offering the jobs. Because, final line is the most important one, we're working towards a one-to-one mapping between successful completion of programme and employment outcomes. So again, it's got to end up in jobs, all right? Potential of positive outcomes, and this is a bit more about, I think, generally, not just the construction industry, and it's no surprise that the headings there add up to ESE, so environmental, social and economic, the social value outcomes we're all looking for, okay? So environmentally, if we if we meet the challenge and we get the retrofit done, we get that pipeline on the go, potential for huge reductions in carbon emissions, but also resource consumption as well. So we work with charity Groundwork London. They've got the green doctors, so that when people get their new technologies put in, and they're all fabric first, you know, they're insulated, we send them in to do an audit with the residents to explain how to use that technology to, you know, at its optimum. So you're reducing their bills further, reducing consumption of resources, a win-win all round. That should make a major contribution to achieving net zero. I kind of also think I'd be too controversial, but in terms of, like, you know, when net zero is going to be achieved, or if there are winds of change around net zero globally, whatever, I still think retrofit's a winner anyway, to tell you the truth. If there was no climate crisis, it's still a winner. If you're going to make people's homes comfortable, easy to run, cheap to run, then that's an achievement in itself, a huge achievement. So socially significant reductions in fuel poverty, so that's referring back to, for instance, Groundwork London, as I was mentioning, opportunities there for people to reduce fuel poverty. And the poor health and education outcomes, years ago I did Institute Housing, just going to finish, Institute Housing, and I was amazed and astounded really, the amount of illnesses and poor health outcomes that are associated with poor housing. It goes far beyond what we imagine. So hopefully we're going to reduce those for, you know, a successful retrofit programme. Finally, economic, potential to create massive social value wins by reaching those people that the bridge are trying to reach. Potential, an inclusive, wide-ranging training and employment offer that reaches the people who most need it. And as I say, if you get into construction, it's good money, okay, and it's potential quite rare nowadays, I think, for a lifelong career. And there's potential to get, I know people who get into logistics, so that's labouring in old money, right? If they're there 6 months, they're going to be supervisors, you know, and that's all day long. That's how bad the skills gap is. So you imagine that in more skilled areas and across the retrofit sector. So you're getting an opportunity to cycle money back into local communities, local economies, sorry, and that's going to support sustainable, stable and confident communities. Okay.